Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Wednesday, the 13th of September, 2023. I'm Michael Thompson. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about, so let's get going. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed down 0.7% today to 7,154 points. In terms of sectors, IT led the falls with tech stocks down 1.6%. Nuix was down 12%. The US had some bad losses overnight in the tech sector, which explains some of the weakness. Industrials, materials, and real estate were also doing poorly. Only 2 sectors, energy and utilities, were up today. In terms of companies, there were no major standouts, really. Coronado was up 3.1%. The worst performer of the majors was IGO, down 7.6%. It's now trading ex-dividend. Best of the small caps was Star Pharma Holdings, which jumped 23.1%. We've spoken to the CEO of that company before on Fear and Greed. The result today followed the announcement of some very positive interim clinical trial results for its new cancer drug. Qantas shares ended the day 0.2% lower. That's after losing its High Court appeal. The court upheld a federal court judgment against the airline that its sacking of 1,700 staff in 2020 was in breach of the Fair Work Act. Qantas apologised for the personal impact the decision had on staff and said it made the decision during the pandemic as the business was dealing with a major financial crisis. On to story number 2, and the federal court is being urged to slap Commonwealth Bank with the biggest possible penalty over its $16 million worth of underpayments to staff. The Fair Work Ombudsman wants the maximum penalty imposed as an example to other businesses. The CBA case is the biggest employer and one of the largest underpayment cases so far, with the bank admitting in early 2023 that it underpaid 7,400 staff members over the course of 10 years. Serious contraventions can be fined up to $630,000 per breach since 2017. The highest fine would still be less than the underpayment actually totaled, according to the Ombudsman's barrister, who says it needs to be at a maximum to be an economic deterrent and a sufficient sting to big business. Commonwealth Bank self-reported the breach and has paid staff back. Story number 3, the CommBank Household Spending Insights Index has increased over August, but in real terms, it is declining. It's still way below 2022 highs, and the bank has a warning for what the economy holds over the next year. The index found the biggest rise was in education, which is likely due to international students arriving back in Australia. There's also a rise in spending on transport, recreation, household goods, motor vehicles, health and insurance, hospitality, and utilities declined. Story number 4, there's potentially a new multi-billion-dollar local industry in the making in the form of decommissioning aging oil and gas infrastructure. And Resources Minister Madeleine King is considering tighter laws to force oil and gas giants to pay for the cleanup and opportunities to capitalise. A new issues paper has been released calling for industry and public feedback on different ways and techniques to manage the task, but also grow Australian expertise at the same time. King told Parliament yesterday that the decommissioning work could be worth $60 billion over 30 to 50 years. So it is pretty significant. And finally, story number 5, Apple has unveiled its new iPhones. There are 4 new models, a 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, and 15 Pro Max. And there are now new Apple Watches as well that are made with eco-friendly materials. They're being described as a significant overhaul, though shares in the company slipped slightly when they were released. The iPhone makes up half of Apple's revenue, so really, any new release is a major, major event. Apple CEO Tim Cook said the Pro models are the very best of Apple innovations. They can record video in 3D, which can then be used on their Vision Pro headsets. Pre-orders are being taken by Apple for the new phones on Friday in 40 countries. China, however, is increasingly banning the use of iPhones for government and state-owned business workers, so the success of this new launch is far from certain in one of Apple's biggest markets. That's it for the afternoon report for Wednesday, the 13th of September, 2023. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the Thursday edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Michael Thompson. Enjoy your evening.